And nobody has been more cynical about manipulating how upset we are and how fearful we are after what went down on September 11th and our sorrow for the victims and their families than the Bush administration themselves. Their bodies are barely cold in the ground, and Bush's people are already pissing on their memories. In order to fight terrorism, we have to drill for oil in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. That'll show them. Just kill off all them caribou and all them bears and melt the tundra. And the oil, by the way, last time they were bringing this up was earmarked for China. And right after September 11th, both houses of Congress passed a bill ordering 100 more tanker jets for the Air Force, right after the Air Force said they didn't need them. And Bush says that in order to fight terrorism, we have to give him alone so-called fast-track authority to ram through treaties like the Free Trade Agreement of the Americas that makes NAFTA and the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs, the GATT treaty that gave us our lovely friends, the WTO, look nice by comparison. Free Trade Agreement of the Americas is designed to let any private company shake down any other country for sanctions anywhere North, South America, Caribbean, Central America. Only Castro isn't invited. Shake them down for blood money and sanctions for failure to privatize their water supply. You know, they tried that in Bolivia, and Bechtel raised the rates of the peasants up 300%, and people rioted in Cochabamba until Bechtel got driven out. So now Bechtel has gone to another obscure trade tribunal whose name I can't even remember, demanding that the Bolivian government be ordered to pay them $25 million in blood money. That's the scam. They also want to be able to go after people for failure to privatize the school system. And even now, under NAFTA, UPS, United Parcel Service, is suing the government of Canada for interfering with their profits by having their own postal service. That'll show the evil ones. And anybody who says this sort of globalization uber alles and signing over our constitutional rights and our sovereignty to corporations is somehow wrong and fights globalization, well, you oppose the corporate agenda, you must be a terrorist too. Wall Street Journal, Prime Minister of Italy, Silvio Berlusconi, who's kind of like a cross between Mussolini, the Godfather, and Ronald McDonald rolled into one. They all said that the people protesting in Seattle and in Geneva and Italy and other places caused the World Trade Center bombings and are therefore terrorists for fighting corporate rule. And people who come out and oppose it in this country sometimes have all kinds of hell to pay. Bill Maher, you'll notice politically incorrect, is not going to be on the air anymore. One of the things that took him down, it appears, was he said, I thought it was not only just a perfectly innocent remark, but very well taken, that yes, it was something to the effect of, yes, it was cowardly to be flying planes into those buildings in New York and killing all those innocent people. It's also cowardly to be shelling somebody else's country from missiles fired from 2,000 miles away. And Bill Maher's reward for that was sponsors pulled their ads out of politically incorrect, local station affiliates canceled the show, Bush's press secretary Ari Fleischer hopped on the bandwagon saying people have to watch what they say and watch what they do. Yeah. And stamping that down even further is Dick Cheney's wife, Lynn Cheney, who you haven't heard much about so far, but she's like the Tipper Gore of the academic world and has been that way for many, many years. For a while under Reagan-Bush regime number one, although I kind of call them the Reagan-Bush-Clinton regime when you look at their policy consistency over the years. Anyway, she was head of the National Endowment for the Humanities and began pulling grants for any project a school wanted that she deemed political. But of course, if it was beneficial to corporations or the right wing, then it was patriotically correct instead of politically correct, and it was okay. Well, now, she's part of the American Council of Trustees and Alumni, who also had Joseph Lieberman on board for quite a while, Who announced that the weakest link, yes, you are the weakest link, in the war on terrorism is college professors, and listed 117 unpatriotic acts that they thought didn't just warrant a few demerits and finger-wagging from Lynn Cheney and Lieberman. No, they ought to all be fired for things like saying in a classroom at the University of Oregon that we need to understand the reasons for people's hatred of us in the Middle East. What makes these people so powerful is they sit on $3 billion in grant money to schools every year. So that's how they can influence what is taught in the schools. And meanwhile, all kinds of things are flying this way and that and flying under the radar screen, like the New York Times nonchalantly mentioning in an editorial, oh yeah, in the next 5 years we're going to double the size of the CIA. Great. They did such a wonderful job with such a conscientious approach the first time around. Let's have twice as much of them. And you may have noticed that the Bush administration is hell-bent on sealing government records right, left, and center. Nobody can read any of the papers from not only Bush's father's administration for some strange reason, but the Reagan administration too, because it might disclose some of the little nasty things they did then, I guess. And they also were hell-bent on sealing all the records of Cheney's meetings with executives from the Enron Corporation on how to solve the manufactured energy crisis that Enron and Ross Perot, among others, helped start in the first place. And the Democratic Party, true to form, has been totally spineless in truly pursuing just how horrific the Enron scandal and WorldCom, Adelphia, and the rest of them really is, and how many more there are to come.